Back yet again.
Yes, yes.
After a week off, so much has happened, man. There's so many topics, so much to discuss. I'm your host, Jason Flake. My co-host, Lance Reynolds, aka the People's Champ.
What up, though?
We want to thank all of our followers, all of our subscribers for hitting the social sites, for going to the YouTube page, checking out all of the content, watching the shorts. We want to thank you so much. Even in the off week, y'all have continued to engage, have continued to like, share, and subscribe. That is very much appreciated. We thank you very much. None of this is possible without y'all. So please continue to engage, continue to like, continue to share, continue to subscribe, continue to talk about the Everybody Has One podcast with your friends and family. Encourage them to like, share, and subscribe. Oh man. Without further ado, man, we got a lot to get into this week, man. A lot of
Yeah, dog.
a lot happening in the NBA offseason. And a lot, I mean, not very much. We talked about a few things last time we were together. um some breaking news today. Chad Holmgren got a contract extension.
Yeah.
150 mil. Was it 5 years?
5 years.
5 years, 150
250.
Well, oh, excuse me, 5 years, 250.
250.
5 years, $250 million. That's all right, man. I took 100 million from you. My bad, brother. So yep, big breaking news right there. 5 years, $250 million extension for Chad Holmgren. And I think Jalen Williams is also, I think he's in negotiations for an extension.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to them. That organization. The best way to build the big three is organically.
Yep.
And OKC is doing that. We saw Dame Lillard waived by the Milwaukee Bucks since the last time we were together. Um, we saw Miles Turner signed by the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
I think was he a restricted free agent? And they beat Indiana's offer sheet. I'd have to look
Indiana basically just
they decided not to trade him. Or excuse me, decided not to re-sign him.
Yeah, I believe they kind of lowballed him.
Yeah, that's what and so now he is a member of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh man, public enemy number one in Indiana now, boy. They want his head.
Yeah. Norm Powell and John Collins were traded in a 3-team deal involving, I guess, Utah just basically getting some cap room, right? I don't think did they get a player?
They said John Collins was basically resulting in too many wins for Utah, so he had to go. They're like, look, man, we tanking over here, dog. Like, you was messing the operation up, bro. You got to go.
So he is now a Clipper.
Yeah, they're not in the net positive players right now in Utah.
And Norm Powell is a Miami Heat. So that's one of the trades. That we just saw DeAndre Ayton sign with the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting move. We'll talk about how we feel about that. And to me, those are the only things of note that I care about. I mean, there's a lot of LeBron discussion.
Yeah,
he opted in since the last time we were together, and then Rich Paul immediately went to the media complaining about the Lakers' ability to compete and that LeBron still wants to compete for championships. And of course, the question is why opt in? But becoming a free agent, there's nobody that could have given him $52.5 million.
Right.
And so now the whole discussion around the Lakers and their offseason and who they gonna get and who left and who got signed and who could they still swing a trade for. And quite frankly, I'm exhausted already of that entire nonsense around a player who is a great player, in my opinion. I've said it ad nauseum. He's, in my opinion, the second greatest player to ever play. Arguably the greatest player to ever play, depending on who you ask, who you talk to. But this is the problem with LeBron, though. He's exhausting. But I won't belabor that. I'll let you get in on a lot of the, because I just said a mouthful. I
No,
talked
no,
about
it's
a
all
lot
good,
of
brother.
trades.
We had a week off. Man.
Yeah,
We had to empty the tank.
We had a lot of trades, a lot to discuss. I want to get your thoughts, man, on those trades. Which trade did you like? Which one jumped out at you? Who do you think improved their lot? I didn't even talk about Denver. They got Valanciunas. They added some ancillary pieces. I think they got Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
They got Bruce Brown back. So I mean, yeah, like there was a lot of moves that took place while we were away that we didn't get to discuss. So that's kind of a mishmash of topics. But I'll take your opinion and your impressions of all of that happened, and then we'll get into some of the dumber people that are around the NBA and that are doing things to damage their career and legacy. But we'll start with the players who are actually playing and signed.
Well, for me to really still the biggest story the offseason to me is still the injuries.
Yeah.
If we're talking impact.
Of course.
Going into next season.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been in terms of player movement, any player going to a location that swings the pendulum for a particular team more so than the injuries sustained by Boston, Milwaukee, and Indiana.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention the Durant trade too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that too. So I just especially when you look at where those teams are and you kind of start to look at the fallout. Milwaukee, they waived Damian Lillard, as you mentioned earlier. I know that contract was kind of ugly, but I believe they're able to kind of recoup some of the money. Then they can pay him out like $113 million over
5 years. So they paying him $23 million a year over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's still, I guess it still counts against their cap, but you can stretch that a little bit more. Yeah.
So that was like, okay. And then, as you say, they add a Miles Turner, but you lose a Brook Lopez.
Brook Lopez, right. So they replaced him with a younger version, so to speak.
Yeah, but I think, especially when you've won a championship, like Lopez was kind of like one of their foxhole guys.
I agree.
Indiana, again, Halliburton's gone for all the next season.
Sure.
So like you basically lose him and Miles Turner. Yep. So you're losing like
2 starters for next season. Yeah.
So
that's a major impact.
Especially for them defensively.
Yes.
Boston, and then Boston.
Yeah.
Porzingis gone.
Yeah.
Holiday.
Yeah. That's another.
Then I was hearing Jaylen Brown's name being shopped around.
Yeah, which is wild.
So you look at how just that one Tatum injury. Now it's like, okay, so I guess now we got an excuse to kind of maybe ask some questions that we maybe could have put off for a season or two.
Sure.
So to me, outside of maybe like KD going to Houston, like if KD was 34 or 33 going to Houston, I think I would have a little more enthusiasm about it, as opposed to him about to be 37 and go where I still think, do some things, do some damage.
I mean, listen, Vegas has them, I believe, as the best odds to win, or maybe second best behind OKC to repeat.
And again, with KD, to his credit, he's shown the ability to bounce back from injury, but he gets injured. Like even last year, you look at Phoenix, the first month and a half of the season, up until mid-December, Kevin Durant was in MVP talks.
Yeah.
No one had a problem with Budenholzer at that point.
No.
They thought he was pushing the right buttons. Then Kevin Durant gets injured.
Yep.
And everything just kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
So who's to say? I mean, if we're talking, betting odds, that a 37-year-old, guy is going to be susceptible to, injury, especially when he was injury prone when he was 27.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean?
I
But and
agree.
again, to his credit, he's shown the ability to bounce back and maintain and sustain, all time, great level of play. But that's something you have to consider, especially when you consider how they've kind of remade their roster,
Yes.
around, that acquisition. So
Yeah, and do you think that Houston will manage him throughout the season with that in mind?
I think you kind of have to.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to. I think that's why they gave the bag to Jabari Smith
Yep.
Jr. I think his development this is going to be a big year for him in terms of expectation.
Yeah.
And him having to deliver on those expectations. So there's that. Clint Capella coming back.
Yeah. Interesting signing. They're huge.
Yeah, I was about to say. I thought I know you kind of like that.
Yeah. No, I like a big team. Yeah.
Because now they can. I mean, dude, you can really maybe put a lineup out there if you want to with Sengun at the 3, running the offense through him at the top.
Yeah.
With a Capella and Steven Adams, if you just want to go big for maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just to beat a team up, a smaller team up.
Yeah, don't miss a shot because you get one shot.
Yeah.
You get one shot and we rebound and everything.
Yeah, so
I like that concept. Yep.
And then to your point, that I think kind of maybe is getting looked over a little bit is Denver.
Yeah, oh yeah. They've had the best offseason quietly,
hey man,
in my opinion.
Low key.
Yeah.
I think they and it would, of course they gotta, as they say, roll the balls out.
Yeah, of course.
And see what happens. But on paper, I think a lot of it will fall heavily on young Coach Adelman.
Yes, I agree.
Because I think they've set, because Jokic has shown you what he needs to win.
Yes,
certain players, they kind of, especially when they've done it, they kind of show you what they need.
Yes, he needs great perimeter defenders. He needs not to have to be a great backline defender.
Right.
That's basically the long and the short of it.
Yes, 100%.
That's his one deficiency, is that he's not a great backline defender. Because when they had KCP and Bruce Brown before, they won.
100%.
They need great perimeter defenders and him not to have to be a great backline defender. In my opinion, that's as simple as that, because everything else he delivers on.
Yep.
He's durable. He's going to be there because he's not dependent on athleticism. He's not, he's jumping 3 feet off the floor most of the time.
Yep.
So he's not going, he ain't going to be twisting his ankle. He's not going to be banging his knees up. He's not going to be tearing the ACL with all likelihood. He's not going to be rupturing an Achilles because he doesn't depend on that raw athleticism to get by. He's really depending on skill and size and strength and being responsible with the basketball. That's basically his game, So, but yeah, I didn't want to step on your point.
No. That's what we do here.
And before we get off of Houston, because I did just want to make one point about Houston, because all in all, I like the Durant trade for them because it didn't cost them a lot.
Right.
My concern with Houston is that they are thin with respect to the backcourt scoring. It's like Fred VanVleet, and you praying that Amen Thompson takes a step forward in terms of his scoring because he's the other backcourt guy now. Like really, you gave away all the backcourt scoring. And that's the one thing that concerns me. Is that I don't see much back, and even we just talked about Cam Whitmore, even he's gone.
Yeah.
So you don't have that backcourt scoring threat. Everything is very front court dependent. It's like we're going to need to get a lot of production out of the front court because Fred VanVleet, while I like him a lot, he is not a consistent scoring threat.
Right.
He's a guy who
he's a big shot maker.
He is. He can go, and he can go off. He can go off for 30.
Yep.
But
next night he'll have 14.
That was, you took the thought right out of my head. Yeah, he's up and down, and so that's my one concern about them.
But
Otherwise,
so to your point about that, do you think and I haven't heard anything about this, I'm just kind of throwing this out here. Do you think this maybe shows that they have some confidence in Reed Shepherd?
yeah, I mean, I think that Reed definitely will get some opportunities this year. And yes, I think that a lot of it is predicated on him taking a step forward,
Staying healthy too.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was thinking about when I was looking at this offseason, kind of analyzing it, and I was having this discussion about the player empowerment era. That's what they're coining this. It just, in my opinion, that's sort of a smokescreen for a lot of team hopping. It's just people moving around a lot. That's really what that means when you
Yeah.
hear player empowerment era. It means, yeah, we're gonna be seeing a lot of player movement in off seasons and
The
free
clutch
agency.
sports era.
Yeah, you said it, not me.
Oh, that's cool.
But but when you look at a team like OKC, who they basically traded for a young SGA, they signed Jalen Williams, and drafted Jalen Williams,
Mhm.
drafted Chad Holmgren.
Mhm.
It's best to build your big three organically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even Denver drafted Jokic, drafted Jamal Murray. They kind of been in search of that third guy. They thought it was going to be Michael Porter Jr. They did win a championship.
They did
with
win
him.
with him. Yeah.
And they kind of looking for that replacement guy. And Boston, with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum,
Warriors.
Yep, Warriors.
Spurs.
And I say all that to say that I'm going to totally contradict myself while I shift gears to our Pistons. And I get frustrated and they're not doing anything in the offseason. They're making a bunch of lateral moves. So we lost Tim Hardaway Jr. and we got Karis LeVert, which is a little bit of an upgrade.
Yep.
And then we lost Malik Beasley because he's stupid. And we got Duncan Robinson. Was a little bit of a downgrade in the sense that I don't expect him to be second in sixth man of the year voting. So
Right.
he's going to be a downgrade, right, from Malik Beasley with all likelihood. That doesn't mean he's not going to help us. I'm not ragging on Duncan Robinson. I'm not. I don't want to hear.
I
from
think
the
I'm gonna
Pistons
hold
fan.
out judgment on that. I mean, like on his face, I agree with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm saying boldly he's not gonna be second and sixth man.
Yeah. I mean, yes, for sure.
But yeah, I'm not saying he's not going to help us.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I wouldn't say that because I think he's going to help us. He's going to help with that shooting off the bench, just like Malik Beasley did. Malik Beasley was exceptional this past season in that role. I mean, really, in my opinion, he was the sixth man of the year.
You could say he was shooting like he had money on the line or something.
Right. And the second most made threes in the NBA this past season, behind Anthony Edwards.
Right.
Like
ahead of Steph Curry.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
like, this dude was making threes at an impossible clip this past year. So I don't think that it's a knock against Duncan Robinson to say that we probably not gonna get that out of him.
Well, no, the reason why I say that is not to take away from what Beasley did for us last year, because we needed it, and I was looking forward to him coming back.
Yeah, I was too. I'm very disappointed in his plight, which we'll get into more.
But my train of thought when making that statement was more along a line with the play making ability of Cade Cunningham.
Yes,
because before Malik Beasley got here last year, he was a journeyman.
That's true.
You know what I mean? He wasn't, and I'm not saying Malik Beasley is now a household name,
Right.
but you could see here last year he looked more comfortable here than he had anywhere else in his career, except maybe in Minnesota.
Yeah, there's no question.
I agree. And I think a lot of that had to do with Cade.
Yeah.
I think, and again, like I said, this is just kind of surface level, but why I lean this way, I think Duncan Robinson, just the pedigree of player coming from a Miami Heat organization, playing in the finals, I think just like basketball synergy wise, I think he can come in and fit and understand where to be for Cade
Okay.
in a similar way that Malik Beasley was, where he
Okay.
may
Talk
not
me
be
down a little bit.
like he may not, be sixth man of the year.
I got you.
Here,
I got you.
but I just think that he can kind of come in and be like,
playing off Cade, he'll get some better opportunities.
And I still think next year Cade will be better. Cade lost in the playoffs last year to a guard that's going to be in his way in terms of whatever accolades Cade Cunningham wants to get.
Cade's best days are ahead. I agree with that. Yeah,
but Jalen Brunson's going to be in his way.
Yeah,
in terms of Cade to get the props that I'm pretty sure that he wants.
Absolutely.
He's going to have to get to the point where knocking guys off like Jalen Brunson is going to have to be a part of the story.
Yes.
So that's what I'm hoping that Duncan Robinson delivers for us.
I got you.
That's what I was thinking when I interjected.
No, I like that. So you saying that he'll get better looks, better opportunities, because you're right. To your point, Malik Beasley not only got better opportunities when he was here, he got more opportunity when he was here than most of his other places. He got he was the sixth man, first of all. He was the first guy up off the bench. He got a lot of opportunities when he came off the bench. He had the green light, in other words.
Yep.
And he was able to kind of play off of Cade a lot, and get a lot of those DHOs and a lot of those setups at the top where he could get great looks. So, hopefully we deploy Duncan Robinson in a similar fashion.
Right, and Duncan's got to play defense too.
Yes, that's the other part.
Now, that's a non-negotiable. But again, he's played for Spoelstra, so he knows what it is. He know where them DMPs came from. You know what I mean? So,
oh man,
what do you think about since we're talking about the Pistons? How do you feel about the Caris LeVert addition? Is it?
I like, he's an upgrade from Hardaway, in my opinion, because Caris LeVert is a very underrated playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I think Donovan Mitchell had gotten injured, or no, it was Darius Garland who was down, and I think Caris was playing point and he was averaging like 8 or 9 assists for a stretch.
He's a player.
Yeah, I like Caris LeVert. He's a I don't want to overvalue him,
right? But
I think he's sort of a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly.
He can do a lot of different things. I like him as an upgrade to Tim Hardaway Jr., who was sort of just a shooter. He was just a guy who could shoot, and he was a 3-and-D guy, and that was kind of it. Caris is more than that. So like I said, I feel like he is an upgrade from Tim Hardaway Jr. We got a little bit better there. And then, of course, I always laugh. I got to give a shout out to my man Damian Jones. We, getting rid of Simone Self-Checkio.
Leave my guy Simone alone, man.
In favor of Duncan Robinson again. Right. That was I like that move. I'm not mad at the Pistons offseason, because I think they believe the improvement is already on the roster.
Right, and they also I believe it was the sign and trade with Dennis Schroeder.
Right. Yes, did the sign and trade. So we freed up some cap space, I believe, by doing that.
And again, with the Beasley situation, Trajan Langdon, basically said that they didn't find out about the whole situation until like the 11th hour.
They were
Saturday.
They were negotiating with him for a new deal.
And then they had to change the conversation because
he might be out of basketball. Bro, you got to resolve that.
Hey, man.
Yeah. Like, unfortunately, I mean, he's no longer, is no longer viable for us to continue to negotiate with him, which I was crestfallen. I really was. I'm like you. I was looking forward to getting him back and him building on last season.
So with that and the allegations surrounding Malik Beasley and going back to how our season ended and that last play of the game, of said series against the New York Knicks.
Man,
A little tinfoil Kofi time.
listen,
Do you think there is a possibility, a probability, a likelihood that maybe, just maybe, the unthinkable happened
well, let me say this,
and friends of the program affected the outcome of that game?
man. Let me just say this. Here's what I choose to believe, because I don't know anything to a certainty. Here's what I choose to believe, though. I choose to believe until I know something different, that if he gambled on games, that he did it in the Pete Rose fashion. And when I say that, Pete Rose always said, I bet on myself to do well. Like so if Beasley put himself in the parlay, I'm gonna believe he put himself over 3.5 threes made as opposed to under. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to believe
excellent save.
Yeah, I'm going to believe that he bet on himself to do well as opposed to fixing the outcome of the game. He just parlayed himself for over 10.
Some of these debts this man owes.
Listen. I'm saying what I choose to believe until I see something different.
Like, this man's not a good gambler.
Yeah, listen. And that's the thing. It's like, man, first of all, this is such a slippery slope. Like I remember, I can't remember the kid that got banned from the NBA. He got a brother in the league though.
Porter Jr.'s brother.
Correct. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. Yeah, he got banned because he got caught gambling. Now, this dude is a 15th man. He down at the end of the bench.
Right.
It might be worthwhile for him to roll the dice and see if he can get a couple more dollars, because the likelihood that he's going to make a lot of money as a professional is probably not that good. And I understand, like we've seen some of Malik Beasley's alleged, and I'm gonna say alleged debts and alleged, some of the people that he owes.
Yeah, this is the man that's in it.
Yeah, like
he's again, in it, dog.
This is all alleged.
Allegedly from what we can transcribe,
from what we can see. Yeah, like some of the things that are floating around. I don't want to cast aspersions on Malik Beasley because we don't know anything definitively, but what we've seen, just the information that we've seen in the general public, it doesn't look great. But again, I'm going to hope that he did it in Pete Rose fashion and he just gambled on himself. He was just like, man, look, I believe that I can hit 4 threes a game, 2.5, 3 threes a game. I'm gonna get my shots up and they gonna go in. But for a guy like Malik to do that when he was on the cusp of getting a big deal,
right?
Second and sixth man of the year voting, he possibly left a great deal of money on the table. That I do not understand.
Well,
other than the fact that he's, that again, allegedly he's just poor with finances.
Well, and this is where, again, I'm no expert, none of that, but that's where you have to take into consideration the seriousness that is the sickness of people that have gambling.
That's true. Problem. Yeah, it's a disease.
And I mean, to the ones that do not, and again, this is all alleged, and I'm basing my own statements off of the information that is out there.
Correct. Yeah, this is just what we've seen. I don't know.
Don't take any of these things.
He could be absolved.
It's factual.
He could be absolved of all of these allegations.
Right. But if you take the information and you start to search for whys.
Right, correct.
As I like to do.
Yep.
What I come up with, again, is knowing what I know about certain addictions.
Right.
And, with many of them, you just have a disregard for, obligations.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Responsibilities. You feel like you can get it back.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's always, as long as you've got the opportunity to play,
Yep.
you literally feel that you have the chance to win. And then somewhere along the line that kind of warps the brain,
Yeah.
which again is fueled by something else,
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, you're right.
it's a lot of moving parts,
It is.
once you kind of look past the just
The sheer irresponsibility of it all
because
is just,
it's
yeah.
easy to take a comedic spin with it.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I'm the first to do it.
Yeah, no doubt. No
all the
doubt.
time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, dumbass. You can that's just like
Yeah.
how I naturally,
Yeah.
certain judge things initially, but then as you kind of look back
Yeah.
at it,
No doubt.
it's like, dude, like how and why would you do this? Because it was like, nothing in life's guaranteed, but he set himself up
Right.
to
Right.
secure his future.
Correct. And I'm like, and I don't know what kind of, again, all alleged, I don't know what kind of alleged debt that he got in, but I'm pretty sure his signing bonus on that next deal would have taken care of all of it.
And again, if you look at you look at these are like holes in living.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like you owe
your
30,000
to your barber. Yeah.
Like what was it like 30,000 to the barber. Rent's not paid in 6 months.
Yeah, like bro.
It's like these are kind of like
he made $6.5 million last year. That's like a $250,000 paycheck every 2 weeks. Like,
so that lets you know how you would. I mean, you're the numbers guy,
right?
So I'm pretty sure you can only imagine what he's probably doing in terms.
Right, that's
of
what
weekly,
I'm saying. Yeah, like you gotta be foolish. That's foolery.
And again, this is all alleged.
Correct. Yeah. But like I don't. Yeah. Again, I don't know his life. I don't know his obligations, his responsibilities.
But
I don't know his expenses.
But you think about when he was in LA and the whole Larsa Pippen situation.
Yeah.
Again, this is questionable decision making.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Like, I do.
If you kind of start to peel the onion back on this thing, you may find a young man who's crying out for help.
Yeah.
Indeed. Like the money problems could be a symptom of something worse.
Yeah.
Which I hope isn't the case. Again, this is all alleged. This is tinfoil koofy stuff.
Yeah. And
us trying to make sense of why someone with millions of dollars on the table would squander it for $1,000 parlay bets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So with that being said, man, underneath it all, Malik Beasley is a human being, and we wish the best for him as a human being, no matter how all of this shakes out.
Right.
And so we will keep our eyes on the story, and we will give updates as they become available.
And as Pistons fans, damn, dog.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's upsetting. You messed us up. But on to a lighter hearted subject.
Yes.
Your boy Paul Pierce, man. I'm gonna quote him exactly.
Yeah.
I was probably the best pure scorer in the history of the game. Was Paul Pierce not the best pure scorer in the history of the game?
No.
He was not the best pure scorer in the history of the. Who was better? No,
Paul Pierce. And again, Paul Pierce, great player, great scorer.
He was, yeah, in the grand scheme of things.
Like, I mean, like real talk. I used to call Paul Pierce like no picks. Because like you can give him the ball on the island and your best defender. And when Paul Pierce was on, he was on. But like best pure scorer. First of all, what does that mean?
I mean, to me, if you're asking me what it means,
because I guess I would need some parameters
Let's go back to the statement that he made.
Yeah.
The statement was in response to LeBron saying that Kevin Durant was probably the most equipped scorer in the history of the game. Personally, I believe that Kevin Durant is probably the best pure scorer that I've ever seen. It's between him and Larry Bird when you're talking about complete floor game and 3-level scoring. The reason that I give Kevin Durant the edge is because he's longer and more athletic than Bird. He's not as good a playmaker as Bird, though. Bird was very good, was a very good playmaker, good on the pass. I'm just talking about pure scoring.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about putting the ball in the bucket.
Yeah.
If you go and look at Larry Bird film and Kevin Durant film, it's very similar.
Yeah.
They're they can do it on all 3 levels, corner 3, top of the key 3. They can work you from the elbow. They can work you from the post. They got the turnaround game. They can, the mid-range is just like an open mid-range shot is a layup. Like you cannot leave them open for mid-range, and they can see right over the top of you because they both long. I think Kevin Durant is just slightly longer. He got longer arms. That's why I give him the slight edge.
Mm-hmm.
But so this was in response to that. That's why he heard that comment and then said, I think I was the best pure scorer in the history of the game, which he just wasn't. I didn't see Paul Pierce. Like when I saw Kevin Durant with Golden State in particular, and I saw the space that he had to go one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I saw the rate at which his mid-range shot was falling, which it seemed like every time he got a clean 1-2 pull-up, it was going in and not even touching the rim. That's when I decided this is probably the best pure scorer that the game has ever seen. Like if you can't double team him, if you can't show him bodies, if he can just get and when he was on Golden State, because of the great shooters that were around him, he got so much isolation, and that's why they were just impossible to beat in the 7-game series. Because if Kevin Durant with isolation, if he just can go one-on-one and you can't bring bodies,
he's unguardable.
That's just unguardable. That he's unguardable because he can see over the top of you. He can raise up, and that's the best pure scorer that I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Pierce ain't even in that category, bro. No. Like I don't even know what he was a great scorer. Like I don't want to knock Paul Pierce.
I mean, he's not the best pure scorer in the history of the Celtics organization.
I just said Larry Bird, though. Like, he ain't a better pure scorer than Larry Bird.
But I mean, like, I'm talking like, bro, McHale played for the Celtics.
Right, yeah, I know. Yeah. For real.
Bro, Cybertwan played for the Celtics.
Yeah.
Like your teammate. Like if
man.
Bro, he was there when Twan was lighting it up.
Yeah.
For Boston. And again, I get it, man. Paul says things from time to time because he has the accolades to put him in the room to have the conversation. Who takes the conversation serious and the level of, validity of which you receive what he says is kind of on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when Paul Pierce says stuff like that, I just kind of like, man, nah, stop. Now, if he said, the best pure scorer of his era, I mean, even then, I would, but I would understand it. You get what I'm saying? I would understand. I
can't even go with that.
I mean, I would understand it because
Kobe played in his era,
but he beat Kobe for a championship. He won Finals MVP. So if if he said that, I would be like, okay, you saying that, I could see why you saying that.
Right.
I can't see why he says in the history of the game.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't see why he's saying that.
Yeah, no way.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
no.
Like, bro, I don't believe he believes that. Whereas if he said of his era, I would believe he believes that.
Yeah, I mean,
you get what I'm saying? But like it's not even worth any type of analytical effort.
Yeah.
Like, like you
Right,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like,
You're not.
but I mean, you can name off guys. I mean, like you say, Durant, Bird,
Yeah.
Jordan,
Yeah, right. Kobe. Yeah.
like Bryant,
Yeah. Carmelo
I
is
mean,
pure scorer.
Melo, Bernard
Yeah.
King,
Yeah. Bernard King. Yeah. That's
I'm-
a throwback.
I mean, dude, like, I mean, I'm talking
Rick
about guys.
Barry,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
talking about guys who can just get buckets,
Yeah.
like
Rick Barry. Yeah.
buckets. Like, come on, Paul. I mean, no. And Paul, yeah, no, it's a nothing burger, man. And God bless Paul. You know,
Man, let's switch gears, man. I want to talk some boxing real quick.
okay.
Because since we were together last, there's been more face-offs and meetups between Bud and Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
The official date now, it looks like September 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Lamont Roach and Tank Davis, they're going to fight on August 16th. That rematch has been set. They don't make the official announcement to July 19th, but that looks like that's a tentative date though. I don't know if that's locked in, but they've announced that they have signed a rematch. I want to talk about those two fights real quick because particularly Canelo and Bud, because that is an intriguing matchup. Everybody's talking about it. From a technical standpoint, because I know we just talked about kind of some of the build-up, some of the conversation around it. Let's talk about that from a technical standpoint, because I'm hearing a lot of people saying Bud is going to knock out Canelo. I'm hearing a lot of people saying Canelo is going to knock out Bud. People are showing tapes. You know, there's a lot of film floating around about Bud and how technically good he is, which he is. He's technically outstanding. A lot of film floating around about Canelo and, you know, how good his defense is, how he really leans on smaller fighters. From a technical aspect, how do you see this fight going? Because it could go a number of different ways.
Yes.
Do you expect the unexpected, or do you have something very specific in mind?
Again, for me, I think it's going to come down to the weight. I mean, because again, like skill wise, Bud Crawford isn't going to fall off skill wise between now and September.
No, he's not.
You know what I mean? Like,
between 154 and 168, he's going to stay skilled. Yep.
But you know, I don't know if Canelo comes in the ring. You know, if he comes in the ring that night at let's say 178-ish. You know, I mean, which is very possible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know. I don't know if there's a rehydration clause. I don't think there is. At that heavy a weight.
And again, when I think about it, I think about Bud's last fight.
Yes, against Madrimov.
Yes. And I mean, that still sticks in my mind where it's like, and I don't want to doubt Bud Crawford's strength, because we know he has like freakish strength.
He does.
At 154.
Right.
So it's like, do I discredit that? No. And then you look at Canelo, who's been in some wars.
Yeah.
Like he's shown that he can take punishment,
and he's never been hurt, really.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
especially at these weights, he's never been even hurt.
So I struggle with that. You know what I mean? Like, even when we go back to Crawford Spence, I had Crawford winning that fight.
Yeah. Yep, you did.
But it wasn't until like halfway through the second round where it was like,
this is
whoa, wait a minute now. Whoa.
We got a mismatch.
When you start like, okay. And again, that's not what I'm expecting to see during this fight. But I mean, in terms of, I don't know if we're gonna find out whose tendencies, going into it, really pans out until it actually happens.
Yeah.
I think, it's a lot of discredit being directed towards both fighters when it comes towards like a lot of people's analyzation of the fight. Again, I think the weigh-in is going to be huge. I still have Bud Crawford winning, because I think Bud wants this fight more.
Yeah.
You know, I think he just wants this fight more. Not to say that Canelo doesn't. I just think Bud wants this fight more. But again, I would be concerned if like Canelo shows up at the fight like anywhere near 180 pounds.
So let me ask you, how do you see it going? Like 12 rounds, technical?
I think it will go to the cards.
Yeah,
I do think it will go to the cards. I would be blown away if it was a knockout either way.
So here's my thing, because I'm pretty much on the same page as you, but my thought is a little different.
Okay.
I think if it gets to the cards, it's a Bud Crawford win.
Okay.
I think Canelo can't let it get to the cards.
Why you feel that way?
Because I don't think he can outbox Bud for 12 rounds.
Okay. I didn't know if you meant either like in the ring or something nefarious.
No. He gotta, if Canelo is going to win the fight, in my opinion,
you got to put him down.
He's gonna have to overpower him.
Okay.
Because outboxing him is not an option.
Okay.
And Canelo is a very good boxer.
Yeah.
But Bud Crawford is a special boxer. Just like when he fought Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that Bud Crawford is Floyd, because I don't necessarily think that, but I think that he's in that same
definitely
vein when you're talking about
smart
cerebral,
100%.
Punching accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't waste shots just flailing around, and he's not going to tire himself out punching.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Floyd never did. Floyd always made sure. That's why he's the most accurate puncher in the history of boxing, in the history of CompuBox, because he landed almost half his punches because he didn't waste shots.
Yeah.
He made sure that when he threw, he was, there was a target behind that. And Bud is much the same.
Yes.
Bud doesn't flail. He doesn't flail and throw bad shots.
Yeah.
He's very accurate, and when he throws a shot, it's something on the end of it.
Yeah, he's a strong brother.
Yeah, he's not gonna waste any punches. So that's why, to me, like, I don't imagine a scenario where you get to the end of the fight and Canelo has landed a higher percentage or more punches than Bud.
Okay. I see what you're going.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not gonna happen. So the only other option for him is that his punches are harder, more thudding, and more impactful. Because I don't think he's gonna land more accurately than Bud Crawford. I think that's probably the game plan that just about every fighter has gone into the ring with Bud Crawford. That's the game plan they've gone in the ring with, and that's why he's undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
The Canelo has to go in, and because he's making them jump 2 weight classes from the heaviest weight that he's ever fought at, he's got to go in with the size advantage in mind, and he's got to go in, but he got to take his time.
Yeah.
He can't go in crazy against Bud Crawford, but he does have to try to overpower him. He's got to try to use his weight. He got to try to use his size, and he's got to try to land more thudding shots. But
yeah, so that's what I wonder. Like, I'm trying to imagine how the fight will look. So you think Canelo makes it like a brawl, and then you run the risk of
getting caught. Yeah,
but do you feel that's his best route?
Yes, because get a win? You have to use the side. You have to just bank on the fact that you're the bigger guy.
Okay.
And this is your domain.
So he got to take it to Bud.
He got to take it to him. That's the way I see it. Now, again, I'm a boxing fan. I'm not a boxing expert. I just enjoy the sweet science. But to me, from observing both fighters, that's the analysis that I've come up with. Canelo is a really good fighter. He's a good technical fighter. He lands, he lands a high percentage of shots. Um, and he's a good defensive fighter. But we've seen when these highly technical fighters, like Bud, and
Yeah.
Bud is a highly technical fighter
Yes.
in that he doesn't waste shots. Let me say that one more time. Bud Crawford does not waste shots. You got that. That's something that is a highly underrated boxing skill, by the way. A lot of people don't appreciate. That's why Floyd is unappreciated.
Yes.
Because he didn't waste shots. People like he running all the time. No, he's not flailing and he's not wasting shots and he's moving appropriately. See, people want to see you throwing a lot of punches and
moving around the boxing ring for 3 minutes.
Yeah, you ain't lying, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. We'll
yeah,
broach that on another day.
Yeah, people act like they kind of discredit that part
Yeah,
when
no.
they go into.
Yeah, that's some of the best conditioning that because boxing is one of the toughest things that you could ever do. But I won't belabor that. But yes, that's the way I see it. So I think that a technical fight goes the way of Bud Crawford. I think if it's a brawl, that is Canelo's opportunity to
you said if it goes to the cards, Canelo ain't got a chance.
No, I don't think so. I think the odds are steeply against him. Now, again, I could end up being wrong, and of course, we will have that conversation in the aftermath of the fight.
Right.
But give me your impressions on the Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis rematch.
Well, I mean, if it really goes down,
yeah,
I'm here for it.
Yeah. Who you think wins?
It's hard. It's hard for me to see Tank Davis losing 2 fights in a row.
You're right, because you think he lost the other one, despite it being called a draw.
Yeah.
Yes, I do too. I do think he lost the first one. I'll go on record saying that.
Yeah, it's hard. I think Lamont Roach again served himself well in the first fight.
He did. He acquitted himself beautifully.
But I think what he also did was now garnered the full attention of one Gervonta Tank Davis. And that may not bode well for Mr. Roach. But again, I don't want to play him.
Yeah.
Because the last time I did, I had egg on my face
right.
to my surprise and enjoyment.
Yes, no doubt.
It
was a great fight.
Yeah,
it was a great fight.
I don't mind shutting up when you put on a show like that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to discredit him, but I would have to imagine that Tank is angry.
Yes.
And Tank wants to make a statement.
I would think so.
And Lamont Roach, if he's who he believes he is, this is it here. Because I think he's going to try. I think Tank's going to try to knock his head off.
So let me say this, man. I'm interested in this fight. I think probably more than I've been interested in a rematch in a long time, because my gut is telling me that Lamont Roach just might be a bad matchup for Tank.
Okay.
That's kind of what it didn't look fluky in the first fight.
Like the Ken Norton type of
right.
deal.
Yeah. It just looked like he just is he kept him at the end of the jab. He a little long for Tank's liking, a little bit bigger. Yeah. And it just was kind of hard for Tank. Like, Lamont Roach is the kind of fighter for Tank because of Tank's size. Tank is a little diminutive, and Lamont is a little long for that weight class. So what happens is you got to pay a price to get on the inside.
Yes,
you got to take and he kept the jab pumping and he kept it real stiff. Pause. But you know what I'm saying? Like he kept that.
Right.
He kept the jab in Tank's face. I thought he used the jab beautifully.
Yeah, he fought a masterful fight to me.
And I think that
again, I thought he won.
That's the way to fight a diminutive fighter, is to keep the jab in their face and to make them pay for trying to get on the inside. And I thought that he did a great job of making him pay to get inside, which limited the amount of times that Tank came inside.
Right.
I think he started to bull his way in more later, but I think that's going to create some more opportunities for Lamont Roach, because Tank is going to, I think, to your point, he's going to try to get inside earlier.
Yeah.
He's not going to wait. He ain't going to take his time.
Yeah, because to your point, like post-fight interviews aside, like Tank Davis is a smart fighter.
And he's a great fighter.
Like, I mean, he in the ring, he's smart.
He is.
Like, he knows what the hell he's doing. He's
does.
just not a headhunter.
No.
Like, he is a technician.
Yep.
And I think he will make some adjustments. Will make the adjustments. But again, to your point, watching that last fight, you would be hard pressed to believe nothing other than maybe Lamont Roach is just
a bad matchup.
Just abrasive,
anti-counter.
It's that old Styles make fights,
and it's just
and again, that's definitely not a tinfoil Kofi statement.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean.
And you saw Tank kind of, you saw him calculating and using all of his wiles. And,
when cats be in the corner in between rounds and they do that smiling thing, you kind of know it's like, all right, he pissing me off.
Yeah, right. Yep.
But he pissing me off.
Yeah.
So and these guys have history.
Yeah, and don't discount that Lamont Roach Jr. will make adjustments as well.
For sure.
Man, I'm very much so interested.
I
in
hope that
fight.
happens. I hope that happens.
Yeah, I'm waiting. They haven't made the official announcement, but they definitely plan to. Randy Moss says he's the best wide receiver ever. Is he right? Is he wrong?
Wrong.
I agree. I think it's Jerry Rice for my money.
Yeah, I mean, I love Randy. I think Randy.
He's right up there, though.
Well, okay. Randy Moss I won't even say maybe. Randy Moss is the best wide receiver I've seen. But Jerry Rice is the greatest wide receiver to ever play. Jerry Rice is like top 3 to 5 football players.
Listen,
ever.
We talk about it all the time. Completeness versus greatness. I'm like, it's not a completeness conversation. Because if it's a completeness conversation, that's T.O., that's Megatron.
Right. Oh, for sure.
They the two most complete receivers that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Particularly Megatron. Megatron is probably the most physically gifted receiver with the jump, the speed, the size.
I would probably add one more to that group.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably throw Sterling Sharp into that group.
Yeah, Sterling Sharp. He right there. Yeah, he just had a career cut short by injury.
But in terms of, like you say, just having like all the tools, size, speed, hands, catching traffic, breakaway speed. Yeah.
All of that.
But yeah, man. I mean, again, Randy made it look easy.
He did. And that's no disrespect to him, man. Jerry Rice, like you said, is just.
But Jerry Rice is just the greatest.
He's just so outstanding,
dude. He was just, and again, like to the point that you make all the time, that like his dominance kind of makes you just discredit and minimalize
pretty competition,
his competition and even his feats.
Right.
Exactly. He started to do it. So man, this dude caught 1,200 yards at 40.
Yeah, I mean that's.
With the Stevie Wonder braids when he was with Seattle. Like, I mean, Jerry Rice is that dude, man.
But and then man, let's close on this, man. Did you see Roy Jones Jr. said that Prime Sugar Ray would be Prime Floyd Mayweather. And then Floyd put up the video watching Roy Jones get knocked out repeatedly, like just a sizzle reel of Roy Jones knockouts.
See,
that was just funny. I ain't really got a lot of comment on that. It was savage though.
Yeah, it was funny. It was, but
no, Roy Jones was that guy.
But like Floyd
stayed too long. Though.
Floyd got to remember there was a time where he was Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah.
And when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, the baddest man in boxing was Roy Jones.
Yeah, no. Roy Jones had it. When he was that guy, he was that guy.
But yeah, it was hilarious.
And he's another one where he was so good.
Oh man.
that they like, man. He fought all bums.
But you know what?
They was all bums when they fought him.
But you know what though? They were having those conversations real time.
Yeah, I know.
Like that's how bad it was.
Yeah. Like he was just mopping. He was going in there and mopping people up.
And they were begging people to watch Roy Jones fights. Like, man, come on, watch him tonight, man. You know, he gonna say something funny in the post fight. Pensacola in the house. You know, you know how Roy, because the fights were a foregone conclusion, bro.
He knew he was gonna knock somebody out.
You know. But I mean, to Floyd's credit, you know, when you undefeated, you can talk that talk.
Yeah,
so I ain't mad at it. It was hilarious. But
it was
when you live long enough and seen enough, you can kind of contextualize
it
in its proper way.
Of course.
And you know, I'm one where I can laugh at it, but know what's up. Like Floyd know what's up.
Yeah, Floyd knows that Roy Jones was a great fighter, and you know, and Roy is entitled to his opinion. We talked about that before. No need to rehash it. I do not agree. I take Floyd Mayweather against any welterweight in history in one fight, not named Sugar Ray Robinson. Even though Sugar Ray Robinson, I think, still fought the majority of his fights at middleweight, but I could be wrong. I would have my nephew can fact check me on that, but I think he still fought but he fought a lot of welterweight fights.
Yeah, he fought a lot of welterweight.
He fought a gajillion fights, but
600 times.
But Sugar Ray Robinson notwithstanding, I would take Floyd in the history of boxing against any welterweight one time. I don't know that he would run the gauntlet that was there, like we talked about in that 80s and 90s gauntlet, because there was so many, and none of them got out of there with an undefeated record. So
about four guys in a 3-year window.
Yeah. Right. And they fought all the time. That's another thing. They fought all the time. But at any rate, man, that's our show today. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, man. As Everybody Has the #1 sports podcast on YouTube. Everybody Has One podcast everywhere else. So please continue to hit the Instagram page. We up live. We on TikTok now. We're gonna be doing more with the Twitch channel, so stay tuned. Website is on the way. Stay tuned. And we got some other great announcements, man, about some vendor partnerships, some products, and just everything. So please stay in there with us as we continue to grow. To Everybody Has One family. We appreciate y'all tuning in all the time. Tell your friends, tell your family. Continue to like, share, and subscribe. Everybody Has One podcast. Peace.
Peace out.